Hello, everyone. My name is Peter Sima, and I'd like to welcome you on today's webinar. The topic of today's webinar will be content, and the content specifically in the context of Google Ad Grants. And we've been talking about this for a while. You might have heard a lot about why content is important for SEO, why you should create custom landing pages for Google Ads, etc. So this topic is definitely not new, but there were significant changes in Google Ads recently, and we see this across almost all clients we work with, that those ones that focus on content, those ones that produce high quality content, get much better results out of Google Ad Grants. So that's why we decided to dedicate today's webinar to content. We'll show you how to come up with quality content, how to identify right keywords, how to even use AI to identify those keywords and use them to create quality content. And we'll also show you a success story with one of our clients that apply this framework and that has seen significant improvement in their ad grants utilization, clicks, impressions, and conversions. This webinar will be recorded. You can use this very same URL to access the recording after this webinar. We'll also send you a link to the recording after this webinar. The webinar will take about 60 minutes. We have a lot to cover, so I will mostly focus on those practical examples, case studies, and live demonstrations. If you have any questions at any point of time, don't hesitate to ask. The first icon in the right-hand side is a chat window, so feel free to get in and ask any question you have. Towards the end of the presentation, we'll take a few minutes to review and answer your questions. Let's get started. So here's the content of today's webinar. So I would first like to ask about why content is actually important, right? Most of you probably have some clues here, but I will sort of try to put it in the context of all the changes happening this year within the Google Ad Grants space. Then we'll show you the 4-step framework, how we approach content creation. Then I'll show you in the account. We'll show you how to approach this, and then towards the end, we have a success story for you. Here's my short intro. Some of you work with us. Some of you know me already, but for those of you who are not familiar with who we are, and who I am personally. My name is Peter Sima. I am a founder and consultant at EvaX Digital, and we are an agency that focuses we work with nonprofits, and our focus is primarily on Google Ad Grants. And I'm also a Google trainer for nonprofits. So we work with the Google Ad Grants team and run events like this, academies, and different educational events for nonprofits. And I've been working in search engine marketing space since about 2010, and specifically focusing on ad grants accounts since 2013. All right. The first slide is the ad grants paradox. So what we mean by that is, and this might sound a little bit sad, but we've unfortunately seen a fairly significant frustration that many of our clients, or not just our clients, but many nonprofits that reach out to us, we feel that they're frustrated with the Google Ad Grants program. And the reason why that is because they've been trying to use the full 10K. Google gives you $10,000 per month in ad grants, but most nonprofits are not able to use it. Many nonprofits actually even use a fraction of it, less than $1,000 on average. And so they keep coming at us and they're asking, why are we not using this? What's wrong with this program? I've been trying everything and it just, I just can't get the spend up. And some of them say things like, I'm bidding aggressively, I have high budgets, I use, the Performance Max campaign and everything that you've recommended, but I just still don't get better results. I get low clicks, but everything seems to be all right. All the ads are approved. I even ask support team, and they say everything's good. I don't know what's wrong, right? And I understand this might be frustrating. And our question or our answer to those questions is usually, you know, that the environment changed. the Google AdGrants is not the same product as it was 10 years ago, right? So for those of you who might have seen good success 5 or 10 years ago and suddenly don't see it now, it might simply be because the environment changed so much. And I've been, working with Google AdGrants for more than 10 years, and 2025 has been the year of most significant changes I've witnessed. And here are some of them. So for instance, we see that the Google is more strict when it comes to policy enforcement. There are compliance requirements, and specifically one of those requirements which is related to website policy. That's the one that they're actively enforcing right now. And I've seen many nonprofits with websites being suspended, flagged as incompliant, and especially nonprofits that use multiple domains. This is where we see the problem happening. And to make it even worse is that there are long support times. And Google support is overwhelmed with all those reactivation requests. So getting an answer from them these days might take a little bit longer. So that's one of the challenges. They were not so strict at enforcing this recently, but this year they've been really strict here. So you might face these. Another problem, or it's not actually a problem, but there's performance max campaigns. Google launched this new format. Those nonprofits that use this new format get an advantage. They get broader coverage, they get more ad impressions, and that essentially reduces the space for anybody else who doesn't use this format. So again, this might be one of the reasons for the decline in impressions and clicks. Then AI overviews, right? Those um, answers, the AI generated answers that Google gives you within Google search results. Again, this replace some of the ad positions. So if you use those question-like searches, suddenly Google doesn't serve ads here, but they show the AI overviews instead. So again, this might have led into reduction in impressions and clicks. The competition gets more and more intense. Many nonprofits even use commercial accounts, and if they use a commercial Google Ad account, they get priority placement. So again, this reduces space for ad grantees. And last but not least, AI chatbots. All of those different search engines powered by AI. There's almost one coming up every week. I feel like, and this to a certain extent. Um, might limit Google's position as an undisputed leader in the search engine marketing space, right? It's not so severe yet, but we see more and more searches happen outside of Google, which again obviously might influence the total amount of disposable impressions and clicks, right? So things change. Here's just an example of what the email looks like. So if your account um, is deactivated for website policy reasons, Google will send you an email like this, plus you will see a notification within the account. Then you need to reach out to Google support, ask them what the problem is, make those adjustments on your website, and ask for reactivation. Here's an example of how the search engine, um, or I mean, how the search results page within Google changed just within 2 years. So on the left-hand side, you can see what it looked like in 2023. I hope you can see that. But essentially, if you search for things like sleep better at night, which is you're essentially asking a question, what can I do to sleep better? And you can see here on the top part, there are actually 4 ads. So the whole top part of the Google Research Results page it's essentially just covered with ads. So each of them gets an impression, some of them get clicks. Um, Fast forward to year 2025, if you ask the very same question, how to sleep better at night, you see an AI overview, which is the AI generated answer, which takes up good half of the Google search results page, and you can click show more, and it expands, and it basically takes over the whole page, right? And obviously these are Google doesn't make this up, but Google essentially compiles this out of the websites, typically out of websites that appear within the first page, because those are the most you know uh, most relevant pages. So Google takes the information out of them and it shows it like this. And underneath, in this case, there's just one organic listing. That's not an ad, that's an organic non-paid listing. And so in this particular example, in this search, there are no ads. So suddenly all of these guys that had impressions and clicks 2 years ago, they don't get any impressions anymore. Right? So they need to be more clever. They need to go after other keywords, or they need to figure out a way to appear within that AI overview. Right? That's the only way to get traffic from Google as of now. Google is talking about adding ad formats that will actually serve within those AI overviews. So that's also coming up. It's not there yet, but what we can do now is to produce content and use latest ad formats to maximize the chances that the ads appear around those AI overviews, essentially. So yeah, what are the implications for ad grantees? Um, I've already mentioned this. There are less impressions, and of course, there are those question-like searches. Those are the ones that are most affected. But we see this happening across many different search categories. Um, there's stricter competition, right? Because, like I said, more and more nonprofits use commercial accounts, and they obviously need to see positive ROI, positive return on their actual investment, because they need to pay to Google to show those commercial ads. And so they go after those most lucrative keywords, keywords that actually generate them value, right? So it might be more difficult to serve your ads on keywords like that. And it's also more difficult to ramp up new accounts, because if you have a new ad grants account, you not just face those challenges, but you also do not have any data. Uh, the bidding algorithms, you need to use maximized bidding strategies, but they're dependent on conversion data, which you don't have as a new advertiser. You don't know which keywords work. You don't have the history. You don't have the quality score, which I'm going to talk about in a second. And all of this makes it more difficult for new advertisers to ramp up new campaigns. All right, so it was a little bit on the pessimistic side up until now, but I promise it will just go uphill from now on, and we'll now talk about solutions and things that you can do to stay relevant in this AI-dominated era. So, as you might have guessed, content is the answer to many of those problems. Um, And our recommendation is to not just pick the right keywords to use for targeting purposes, but also use those keywords in the ad copy and use those same keywords on the landing page. And if you then have this this flow where one keyword is used for targeting in the ad and on the landing page, that maximizes your relevancy and that maximizes your chances for an ad to be shown. And Google values relevancy, Google values history, Google values consistency, right? So if you have relevancy and if you have fair amount of history in your account, your chances for an ad to serve on a decent position are um, as high as possible. Now, I've been talking about quality scores. I've been talking about ad rank and where the ads appear, things like that. So I would like to explain it a little bit. It might not be, so clear to some of you. So this graphic explains it in a simple way. So if you look here at the left-hand side, we see an explanation of what a quality score is. And a quality score is essentially a number from 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. And this quality score is being given by Google to each keyword you have in your account, right? And this number essentially consists of those three things that you see here in gray. And one of them is user experience. So in other words, does your page load quickly? You know, is it relevant? Do the people find the keyword that they search for on the landing page? Is it optimized for mobile devices, etc.? There are many different factors you could look at, but user experience is an important factor. The second one is relevance. So I've already mentioned this. Is the keyword included in the ad and on the landing page? And then there's expected CTR. So if you have some history, Google knows from this specific keyword, if Google served this ad, how many people clicked on it. Google doesn't want to show ads that people don't click on. Google doesn't want to show irrelevant ads. So if you have decent track record in terms of CTR, this helps as well, and is one of the contributing factor towards quality score, right? Um, those quality scores change in time, right? The relevancy changes, the historical performance changes, user experience might change. So essentially on daily basis, Google can change those keyword level quality scores. And you can also see those quality scores in your account. I'll show you that on an example. All right, so now you have a quality score. Uh, that's not the only factor that determines the ad rank, right? Um, quality score is one of the factors, but the second factor is the bid, right? And the bid is an auction So you can either place bids manually. If you do that, then in Google AdGrants space, you can bid up to $2 per click. But you can also use maximize conversions bidding, and in that case, Google does the bidding for you, depending on various signals, depending on. I mean, Google knows who were the people who converted in the past. So if similar people search for one of the keywords, Google increases the bids to maximize your ad rank, right? So I'm not gonna go into details here. There are different bidding strategies, but long story short, Google takes your quality score, multiplies it by the maximum bid, and that gives you a number which is an ad rank, right? And here on the right hand side, you can see that there are, in this example, there are 4 advertisers: Sam, Mary, Jane, and Pat. And you can see that they have different quality scores, they have different maximum bids. And if you multiply these two numbers, that gives you an ad rank. Whoever has the highest ad rank, then the ad from this advertiser appears on the top, right? And there's a second one, third one, and fourth one, right? So what this means is that you can maximize your ad position either via maximum bids or via high quality scores, right? Because the ad grant is limited, so you have $10,000. Obviously, it's not a good idea to bid $50, right? Yes, you can do that theoretically via maximize conversions bidding, but if you do that, then the number of clicks that you get out of the budget will not be that great. So what you want is to maximize your quality scores, and then you can afford to bid even lower amounts, but still have decent ad ranks and still get decent position within the Google search results. And that's what we're trying to achieve with our clients. Here's another example. So again, if we have 4 advertisers here, Bob, Jane, Sue, and Tom, you can see their bids. So Bob bids $4, Tom bids $1. You can see their quality scores and format impact. That's the relevance, right? Those are the things we talked about. And you can see their ad rank, and you can see that the winner here, and by winner I mean that their ad appears on the top position. The winner here is Sue, who has an ad rank of 20, um, and Sue only bids $2, but she has very high quality score and very high form impact, right? And then there's Bob, who bids double that. Bob bids $4, but his relevance and his quality score is low. So his ad rank is 5, and his ad might not even show if there are only 3 available ad slots within the first page of Google search results, right? So again, what I'm trying to say is that bid is one thing, and yes, most ad grantees try to maximize their bids because that's the easiest way to get traction. But not that many ad grantees focus on those other 2 parts, which are at least equally important, because if you maximize relevancy, that's something that's very difficult to copy for another ad grantees, and that can give you the edge, and that can be the factor that that will help you outbid them or outrank them and show your ads more prominently. All right, now how to do that? Well, the content, obviously the answer is content, right? You've probably guessed that, but the content can be created in different formats, right? So it can be created in the form of keyword optimized landing pages. You can have unique landing page for each campaign or even each keyword theme, and you can maximize your relevancy that way. Or you can create, if you have a blog section, you can create blog posts, you can create case studies, success stories. That depends on your case. You can create FAQs. That's quite popular because those AI overviews, they often answer questions. So if you have a page where you have, question answer, and if you obviously use the questions that people actually ask, you maximize your chances of being shown within those AI overviews. So FAQ pages are also a quite popular format these days. And then there can be event pages or educational pages, things like that. These are just some of the examples of what kind of content I'm talking about when I'm talking about content creation. All right, what's our approach to content creation? All right, so we use a simple 4-step framework towards content creation. And the first step here is the actual keyword research. Keyword research is not something new. It's been around for years and years, ever since Google Ads started. It was about selecting the right keywords, and those keywords can be researched in different ways. The top two ways that we use are researching own data, right? So if we get approached by an existing with some, if we get approached by an existing client or somebody with existing Google AdGrants account, obviously we can look back, we can analyze their historical data, we can analyze the keywords that work well, we see the quality scores, and we can extract keyword ideas or keywords suitable for content creation out of their historical data, right? So this is obviously one good source of data because we also see impressions. We see where the potential is, and we see, okay, if there's if we had this number of impressions in the past, but if the quality scores were, for instance, low, then we see, okay, if we improve the quality scores, we'll probably get even more impressions out of this keyword, right? So it's fairly easy for us to analyze that. If that client or the nonprofit doesn't have an account, obviously there's no data for us to analyze. So we need to rely on external tools. And it could be, for instance, Keyword Planner. That's the one that you see here on those two screenshots. That's a tool that's built within Google Ads, and you can access it, and you can type in your keyword ideas, and they will return more ideas, and will also give you an estimate of how competitive they are and how many people search for these keywords. So that's a very good tool that we use often. And then there are alternative third-party tools like, for instance, Keyword Tool IO or SEMrush, or you can use different AI tools, even Gemini or ChatGPT. They can also give you some keyword suggestions. As far as I'm concerned, these AI tools do not have direct access to Google Ads or their data. Obviously, Gemini is a tool from Google, but I've asked it today if it has access to Google Ads data, and they said, or Gemini answered no. So as of now, it seems like there's no access to the backend data, which might change in the future. But even without that direct access, it can still give you decent keyword suggestions even today. And yeah, so if you combine your own data with keywords researched via these third-party tools, which again, I'm going to show you how to do that, then we typically export them into an Excel sheet or Google Sheets or whatever it is. We look at the competition, we look at the search volume, and our goal here is to really select a fairly small group of keywords. We're talking about 5 to 10 keywords per topic, right? So typically your website is about one or a few topics, and for each of these topics, you should do a keyword research like this, come up with a few keywords, and then you should use those keywords in targeting, ad copy, and on the landing page. The second step when we work with a client on content creation, the second step is obviously collaboration with the client. So after we conclude a keyword research like this, we summarize all the keywords that we suggest going after, and we send it to the client for approval. Um, and then obviously after the client approves it, sometimes clients have their feedback and keyword suggestions, changes, etc. But once we get an approval on what are the keywords that we actually go after, then obviously the next step is to incorporate those keywords into the landing page copy and into the ad text. Um, Within the landing page copy, the most valuable real estate on the page is usually the URL and then the headlines, right? Those are the most prominent places. That's where the attention goes, and also when Google evaluates the relevancy, they primarily look at those most prominent places. If you mention the keyword somewhere down there in buried to the bottom on the page, this will not be so powerful. So our suggestion is to put it on those prominent places. And again, if you use those keywords in ad text, use it prominently, use it in main headlines, use it in different variations in descriptions, tags, or ad assets if you add them into performance max campaigns. And then there's a landing page. Here's an example of one of our clients is a religious organization, is a rabbi who has a landing page dedicated to weddings. Obviously, wedding rabbi, and different keywords like that are the dominant keywords here. So we've made some suggestions, and this client produced the landing page you see here. Um, And yeah, it's important to mention the keywords. You can see here dominantly, there's obviously weddings on the top, and there's rabbi and different variations. The name, which is the main branding element. And there are some pictures on the right hand side. You can see in bullet points. These are the advantages. These are the reasons why they should actually contact this person. And then if you scroll further down, there's a contact form, which looks like this. So if you just scroll down, then you can fill this in, and you can submit a connection request. And on the bottom of the page, there are actually reviews and recommendations by people who've already used the services of this person. These are called trust indicators. If you have some seals of quality, if you have some reviews, if you have uh, I don't know, you can mention how many years you've been on the market, how many people you've served. You can mention how you use donated funds, etc., etc. But it's important. This is the first page, and sometimes the only page that people see after clicking on an ad. So it's important to give them a sense, to give them a peace of mind. It is a quality service. Um, Tell them what the service is about, and obviously have a call to action, clear call to action element, which is contact initiation in this case, but it can be anything else in your case. So that's the landing page part. And the fourth and the final step of the framework is the actual campaign preparation and campaign launch. Um, And obviously, the keywords that you identify during the keyword research, they should be used within the AdGuidance account. If you do this for multiple different categories or topics, then you can add those keywords into different ad groups, and you can also use different landing pages for each ad group. You should obviously write an ad copy which is compelling, meaning you should use those keywords prominently, and then you launch it, and then you monitor how it does in terms of quality score, in terms of click-through rate, and obviously ultimately in terms of clicks and conversions. But again, I'm gonna show you how to do that in a second. Um, some other tips that we think are important to mention here. Um, when you create the landing page, it's we recommend using clear formatting, right? People actually, majority of search activity these days happen on cell phones, on mobile devices. They land on the page, they do not have time, and they do not have a big screen to read long text, right? So avoid doing that. Have clear structure with headings and subheadings, and bullet points, images, things that um, give some space between the elements, and just communicate very clearly, right? That's our recommendation. That's what we see working well consistently across all of our clients. Also, you should not overdo it with the keywords, right? Obviously now, you can use AI, or you can even manually write the text that just uses keyword after keyword after keyword, but that should not be the end goal here. You should write it naturally. You should write it for actual human beings reading this text. Yes, you should use the keywords. Yes, you should use them in different variations, but don't overdo it. It's enough to mention it a few times. It doesn't have to be just those keywords. It should actually bring value. It should be meaningful after you read it, like after you proofread it. It should sound like it's written by a human being, not a robot. Okay. Yes, you can use AI, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, but it should not replace you. It can give you some suggestions. You can create some draft text using AI. It's pretty good at it, but you should not just copy and paste it. Google has a way to detect AI-generated texts. People usually detect it as well because it's just not, the language is not 100% there yet. Plus, AI cannot come up with anything new, right? It's great at compiling data using different sources to and putting it together. That's Google AI is great at that, but AI is not that great at coming up with new things. It's not that great at producing something new, unique, something creative, right? And we think it's very important for you. I mean, you are an expert on that topic, so you can take the draft, but you should enhance it. You should give it some value. You should modify it. So just don't use this blindly. Include call to actions. You've seen the contact form here, but make sure that you always use those elements, use them prominently, use them ideally in the top part of the page, which is visible to anybody who visits the page, even those who do not scroll further. Make sure the landing page is mobile friendly and loads fast. That's standard these days. Yet we have many clients that do not have mobile optimized pages or pages that take ages to load. You can even check your load time within Google Analytics. It might load fast in your browser because you have cookies and all sorts of things loaded on your machine, but you might be surprised, you know, when seeing other people, maybe from other parts of the world, accessing your website. And within Google Analytics, you can see load times for different devices, different countries, etc. And yeah, last but not least, make sure that the landing page and all the content pieces that you produce are compliant with the Google AdGuide's website policy, right? You can just Google it, Google AdGuide's website policy, if you're not sure what it is. And there are things like that the page needs to be an SSL secured website. It needs to be clear that this website belongs to your organization. The navigation needs to be clear, things like that, right? So Google has a set of requirements for each page used within Google AdGuide, so make sure that the content you produce is compliant with this policy. All right, so I think that's enough for the theory. I don't want to just, explain theory. I would, um, my goal here is to also show you how we do that hands-on. So I would like to now show you my screen actually. All right, so I'm sharing my screen now, and I would like to show you this client of ours. They're called Addictive Eaters Anonymous, and they've been our client for about a year now. This is what their page looks like, and they most of their keywords and their campaigns are focused on things here, right? So they help people with different eating disorders and mental issues, and they have a landing page for each one of them. Um, those landing pages are not great. For instance, this is the one that we use heavily in our Google AdGuides account. You can see what it looks like. There's no, coming back to what I mentioned, they have a massive headline here, which is our experience. It's not related to any popular keyword. Yes, they do have a keyword here, which is great, but again, not much here. They don't have bullet points. There are long paragraphs here. There are no call to actions here. Okay, there's a video here, and then there is a small call to action here, and then over here in the footer. But it's not very good. And we've noticed that this one and then some of these other pages here are one of the best performing or most widely used landing pages within their account. So we talked to the client and we're like, hey, I think just by doing a few simple improvements to these pages, we can likely see campaign performance as well as conversion performance going up significantly. And the client was fine with that. So we said, okay, let's start with the keywords, right? Coming back to my framework, the first step is identifying proper keywords. Now, we did this exercise a while ago. So at that time, we used Keyword Planner and Keyword Tool IO, which I'm going to show you in a second. We use that to compile the keywords. Obviously, these days, my recommendation is to start with AI. In situations like this, it's actually fairly easy to go to Gemini. Gemini is an AI tool from Google. It's one of my favorites. It's fast, it's free, and it works pretty well with Google data. And I came up with this simple prompt. Okay, I'm not saying it's perfect. You can adjust it any way you want. But basically, I'm going to ask Gemini to suggest me top 5 keywords. Again, if you remember, my recommendation was to come with 5 to 10 keywords. So let's start with 5 keywords. And by top, I mean high search volume and low competition in Google Ads. And I would like Gemini to generate those keywords for these landing pages. Okay, and I listed some of those the most popular landing pages on their website. And then I said, focus on long tail and problem specific keywords, right? Because again, we see that long tail, those are the longer phrases, and problem specific keywords, those are the keywords that typically work well for ad grantees. Okay, we don't want to go after those, you know, most lucrative keywords because they will be occupied by commercial advertisers anyway. So we like to focus on that. And we want a summary in Google Sheets, right? Because that way we can review it easily and we can also extract it and upload it to other tools easily. So if I just copy paste and then paste this prompt into Gemini, all right, something went wrong, so I need to click again. But yeah, it should give us an answer in a second. Here we go. So yeah, here's the whole thing. So Google gives us some suggestions like this, and and uh, all right. For some reason, it doesn't show me the option to export this to Google Sheets now. So I'm gonna give it a separate prompt like this. Give me a summary in Google Sheets. Hopefully it does it now. All right. All right, so for some reason now it decided to not summarize it in Google Sheets. I've tried it like an hour ago and it did. Anyways, we don't need it now. You see the keywords here, right? So it gives us some suggestions. It gives us 5 suggestions for each of these um, major topics, right? So you can just take those keywords from here, or you can, like I said, you can make it exported for you in Google Sheets. And you can either use it like this, but my recommendation is not to stop here, but just take those keywords and put them in actual keyword tools, right? Because again, Gemini doesn't really have access to the keyword planner here. So my suggestion is to take these keywords from here and put them into keyword planner. If you do that, I have those 5 keywords here. And by the way, this is Google Ads. So if you go to Tools and Keyword Planner, you will see what I see here. Over here, you can change the language. Over here, you can change the geo targeting. And I'm just gonna paste those keywords in here, and I'm gonna hit Get Results. Now, yeah, what you might sometimes notice, especially with healthcare-related keywords, is that Google sometimes doesn't give you suggestions for these keywords. You can try it again, but you know sometimes it just doesn't give you those suggestions because of their policies. So they do not want to give you any kind of edgy, let's say suggestions. So let me see if it works now. But if it doesn't, yeah, it says they were removed, right? Because these are healthcare, and these are keywords related to different health problems. So Google doesn't really show you that. We see some suggestions here, right? So we see something, but some of those were removed. It only gave us suggestions for one of the keywords here. The other 4 were removed. All right, so I mean we can still see something here. We can export it out here. That will give us an export to Microsoft Excel. And over here, you can also see the search trends. You can see how many people on average search for these keywords per month. And you can also see the level of competition, right? So this might be one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it would be to use the website itself, right? So if you don't use the AI to generate the keywords, if you don't know the keywords, you can just sorry, you can just go in here and you can click Start with Website. And you can just take the website you want to work on, and you can simply just paste it in here and say that you only want suggestions for this page. And now Google essentially extracts the keywords automatically from the page, and it gives you suggestions in a similar manner, right? So that you can see keyword ideas here. You can see level of competition, average monthly searches. You can apply different filters. So you can, for instance, say, okay, I would like to only see keywords with low level of competition because that's where the space for ad grantees is the highest. You can order it by monthly searches, right? And you can see that these are some of the good keywords. Decent search volume, especially here, more than 40,000 people per month. Low level of competition. I can see here there was a peak in terms of searches in April and May. Now it's a little bit down, but I mean, seasonality is normal with some of the keywords. So again, I could just export this, manually review this, and pick 5 to 10 top keywords. So again, I can take these keywords, I can combine them with these additional keyword ideas. That's a very solid baseline already. If you want to take this one step further, again, you can go to this one. This tool is called the keyword tool IO, right? keywordtool.io, and this tool um, essentially works with those autocomplete keywords. So when you start typing something into Google, Google gives you autocomplete, and this tool essentially takes all of these suggestions, and then so when you put in a keyword, it gives you how would Google actually complete these keywords, and those are essentially keyword suggestions. If you have a pro version, it also shows you search volume estimates. But even as a free tool, it shows you decent suggestions here. Again, so you just put in the main keyword, you select, the country, language, and you see suggestions here. You can even go here to questions. So coming back to what I said in the beginning, with those AI overviews, questions are very important. So you can go in here and you can even write articles optimized for these questions. You can answer those questions in the article. And again, these are the questions that people search for. When searching for something related to this keyword, right? So again, it's a great tool. You can manually select these, you can export it, and again, if you use the keyword planner, Gemini generate the ideas, and a keyword tool, that's great, and that should be more than enough. But if you have an alt account like we do here, you can even go in here. You can go to search terms, and you can go to this one campaign. We already have this campaign, right? So obviously we have keywords related to that, and you can simply see that someone we don't have yet in the account. You can select them, you can export them, and again, if you see that there's some keywords with high impression volume and decent historical performance in terms of conversions, those will be great candidates. You can take these keywords as well. The end result, when you combine keywords from these different sources, should be something like this, right? So you have a campaign here. This is the URL, and these are, in this case, they're the top 5 keywords. These are the keywords that have that have had good historical performance, that have low level of competition, and that are being searched often. So these are great candidates for content creation, and you should do the same exercise, obviously, for every topic you want to go after, right? So we did this. Now we have the 5 keywords. Coming back to my framework, after we have the keywords, the next step is to actually add those keywords on the website if the website exists, or you should create a new article, obviously, if this is a completely new research and if the website doesn't exist. Again, Google Gemini can be a great assistant here. Um, Again, I came up with a simple prompt. You can change it any way you want, but I just asked Gemini, create a blog article similar to their existing article. It should be similar in terms of length and formatting. And we say use these keywords, and those are the keywords that we've just selected. Use it in different variations. Use it primarily in headlines, and use natural language. Right? Don't write it like a robot. And use language similar to the language that they currently use. Right? So let me just copy and paste this into Gemini. Hit enter, and let's see what we get. See, and here's an article. Here's an article, and Google, or not Google, but Gemini even emphasizes the keywords that we gave it, right? So this is one of the keywords. There's another keyword here, another keyword here, another keyword here. It's formatted. You see different paragraphs. Practical steps. You see bullet points, right? If you don't like what you see, you can say use more bullet points, shorten it, use different language. You can play with it. You can, you know, obviously the options are endless, right? It's up to you. It's up to you how you can adjust this prompt any way you want. But even a simple prompt like this gives us decent results. Obviously, this is a um, it's not a health advice. We don't definitely recommend taking this and just putting it on a website, but it can be a good baseline, right? You can take this, you can obviously, or you should review it, adjust it, add your own know-how, um, customize it to the needs of your organization, etc., etc. But this is good enough to get started. So yeah, and after you have a text like this, you modify it, then you just upload it in here. You can obviously um, play around with the actual outline of the page as well. And we'll probably have another webinar just on this, what the landing page should look like. But obviously, make sure you use the call to action elements. Make sure you use the keywords and headlines, etc., etc. Once you publish this, the landing page will look much better. The keywords that we want to have there will be there. They will be used prominently. And then the next step is to obviously build up the campaign, which we don't have time to look at it right now, and we've covered it on another webinar. But long story short, after you build this up, in this case, we have a campaign called eating disorders. We have a separate campaign just for this binge eating keywords. In that campaign, you see we have different ad groups with different keywords. And again, when you do the exercise with the keywords, you can select more keywords, the keywords that you will use in those campaigns, and then you just select the top 5 or 10 keywords which you'll use on the landing page, right? So you can do two things while doing the keyword research. Then you upload the keywords here, and then the last thing you need to do is to come up with the ad copy. And I'm gonna show you here. This is the ad copy that we use. Obviously, it's important to make sure that you use the right keywords, make sure that you use the right landing page here. Um, After you run your campaigns for a while, Google even shows you the top keywords here, and it shows if the keyword is used within the ad or not, right? So this can be or should be an ongoing exercise. And if you see that Google gives you more keyword suggestions, perhaps you don't have them here, you can take the keyword, you can add them here, etc., etc. Right? And the goal is to have the main keywords within these headlines as well as uh, descriptions, right? And then they should give you decent ad strength here. And the last thing that I'm going to show you here, because again, this is an older account and we have the data, I want to show you the quality scores. So if you go into an actual campaign, if you go in here into the keyword tab, right? These are the keywords that we use here. You can see here that we have some data here, and I've added 4 columns here for quality score. If you want to add columns, you can go in here and you can click modify columns, and then you can add custom columns. And I've added these 4 columns. One is quality score. So coming back to the beginning of the webinar, that's the number from 0, or I mean, technically you can't have 0, so it's usually between 1 to 10. Obviously 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. And you can see the different components of the quality scores. You can see the expected CTR, you can see the landing page experience, you can see the ad relevance. And you can see that for most of these keywords here, the expected CTR, their historical CTR has been average or above average. So there's no big problem here. Ad relevance is above average because we make sure that, or I mean, over here is below, but for the most part, it's above average because we try to use the main keywords within the ad text. But the problem is the landing page experience, right? So we're still waiting for this client to implement our suggestions. We did this exercise very recently, so they're still working on the landing page build up. But once they do add those keywords into their landing page, we expect this to go up. And if this goes up to at least average or above average, then the quality score should also go up, right? Over here we're at 7, which is decent, but we can do better. Once we get to the 8 or 9 territory, then with similar bids, we should get higher end rank, and thereby more impressions and more clicks. And that's how it works. And obviously, you can go in here, you can check, all right, what are the keywords where I have low quality score? Why is it low? Well, it's because of the landing page, or it's because of the ad elements. All right, what can I do? Then you can take the keyword, you can add it into the ad copy, or you can add it on the landing page, right? And that's then the refinement. That's then the optimization, right? But this is where you can check how you stand, and this is where you can find the opportunities for improvement. All right, so that was the real life example. I'm just gonna go back to the presentation for a couple more minutes because I want to show you a case study, right? And we have about 10 more minutes. So again, if you have any questions, let me know. Also, like I said, this will be recorded, so you can then look back, look at everything in more detail at your own pace. Um, and the case study that we will present here, it will be about our longtime client called Sunshine Community Health Center, which is a community health center which is based in Alaska, and they're not in Anchorage in any major city. They're actually based in a rural area. Then they have two clinics in rural Alaska, and they've been an active member of the Young Grants program since 2020. Um, the main challenge here initially, because when we started off the cooperation, they didn't even have an grants account, right? So we've processed their application. It was a new account without any data, all right? So we literally started from scratch. Major problem here was their location, right? Again, rural part of Alaska. Search volume is not great. The population is not very high. So their reach was naturally, and obviously they only wanted to go after local audiences because they provide services to local communities. It wouldn't make sense for them to advertise to somebody who's 200 miles away. So the total, the market size was small, and their website was just about who they are and what kind of services they offer. They didn't really have any content strategy. They didn't have too many blog articles or anything like that. They didn't even have conversion tracking. They used Google Analytics, but they didn't track conversions properly. And their resources were limited. So they didn't want to invest into commercial accounts or anything fancy. They really just wanted to use Google Ads, but they wanted to use it to the maximum possible extent. Um, we started the cooperation back in 2020, and the goals were clear, right? They at that time they've had a small commercial Google Ads account, but they wanted to replace it. They wanted to save some resources. They didn't want to pay to Google. It wasn't very efficient, so they wanted to explore Google Ads. Obviously, it's free budget, so their hope was to use it to a high extent and essentially save on those expensive commercial ads that they ran previously. They wanted to reach new audiences, so local people, but people who do not know of them. That was one of the goals. They wanted to ultimately increase the number of page visits and get quality page visits. So people who do not just bounce, but people who spend a certain amount of the time on the website and people who ultimately convert. And for them, conversions are things like appointments or calls or obviously physical visits to their clinics. Like I said, we started the cooperation in late 2020. And here's a chart that shows their clicks. Clicks are the blue line, and the cost. And again, it's the grant accounts. It's not an actual cost, but it's how much of the grant they've actually managed to use. And that's the red line. And you can see that there are two lines here. One is the red line, which is uh, I named it COVID-related traffic drop, which basically means that um, after we launched their campaigns, they worked very well. So you can see a steep increase in terms of clicks, as well as grant utilization. They've quickly used about $5,000 to $6,000 per month out of the grant. They've received about 600 or so clicks per month very quickly. And that was mostly because of COVID, right? And they provided vaccinations, they provided, COVID shots and all that. So people, search volume was great, even in their limited area, and people converted because they had to, they were scared. I mean, you name it. So it worked well. But then after the COVID, craziness sort of disappeared, and the searches went down for keywords like that, that kind of content stopped working, and that's where you see the decrease. And then in this new reality, in this post-COVID reality, their website wasn't great. It didn't include the main keywords. Yes, there were service-related keywords which we tried to use in campaigns, but there were not that many people searching for them. And at the same time, they had a competition from other commercial advertisers bidding on these service-related keywords. So it wasn't going very well. The traffic kept going down, and we said, look, we need to do something about it. We've obviously tried what we could in the ads account, but that only worked a bit. But we haven't seen we weren't able to use more than maybe $2,000-3,000 per month out of the grant. And back in 2024, we've agreed with the marketing manager at the organization at that time to proceed with content creation strategy. So we use the framework I talked about. We produce keywords around health problems, major health problems that people had in their area. Things like, how do I lose weight? Why cannot I sleep? I have this anxiety attacks. What do I do about it? Right? So, major keywords like that, but keywords are not so lucrative for those other commercial guys to go after, right? And you can see after we adopted that, they came up with a bunch of landing pages. We started promoting these keywords in the account, and within 10 months after we started with this strategy, um, they used the full grant, which hasn't happened before. It hasn't even happened during COVID, but thanks to this strategy, thanks to wide focus on those major keywords, they were able to get there. Here are some of the keywords. You can see these are the main keywords that they went after. Those are the major keyword categories like obesity, parenting keywords, um, you know, weight loss, breathing exercises, things like that. How-to articles optimized for major keywords. Um, we also came up with ads. These are just some of them, so you can see the headlines and description lines. And when we went after major keywords like baby teeth or choosing pediatrician, right? We try to use those keywords as prominently as possible, but also um, write the ads in a compelling way. So we use, as you can see, we use capital first letters to make it more prominent. We use all sorts of extensions, etc., etc. And those are the things that can help you maximize CTR, right? The click-through rate. And they've gradually developed a number of landing pages. You can see some of the examples here. These are blog article style landing pages with bullet points, with pictures, and with call to action elements, right? You can go on their landing page, or you can go to their website. You can see those landing pages. They're still there in the blog section. So after they did that, so after they published the landing pages, we obviously also worked on the conversion tracking setup. We came up with these ad copies. We set it all up. It took some time, so this is not going to produce immediate results. But within 10 months after we adopted this approach, they had their first month with full grant utilization, despite all the difficulties and local challenges. They've used the full grant. They've received more than 700 clicks per month. More than 200 of those actually converted into appointments or calls or local visits. And their click rate was more than 13%. So more than 13% of those people who saw those ads actually clicked them. The reason why they clicked this, because they were optimized for those major keywords. They answered, or these ads tried to answer the questions that people asked. So obviously people like that. People clicked it, people valued the relevancy, and they're landing on the landing page with call to action elements, which they use to convert. Yeah, that's that. We're coming to an end, so I would just like to show you how we can help here. We can help you with both of these both parts of this content creation process. So we can either help you just with the keyword research, so we can do what I've shown you for you at scale. We can just produce the keyword list for you. We can make those suggestions, and then your job will be to implement those keywords on your landing pages or create new articles optimized for these keywords, and then we'll make sure that this is promoted within your Google Ads account. The second option is the keyword research plus content creation. So we can also just suggest some of these articles. Obviously, we're not experts on everything, so you will still need to review it, adjust it if needed, etc. And you will need to publish it on your page. But once you do that, we can then do all the rest and promote these new content pieces within your Google Ad Grant. If we do this, we should be able to maximize our quality scores and ranks and get higher brand utilization, more impressions, and more clicks. All right, and just to sum it up, what are the most important takeaways here? Um, the most important thing is to obviously learn to select right keywords, right? I've shown you some tools. There are obviously more, but these are the ones that we use. You should start off by thinking about what kind of audience you want to go after, and then those tools can give you suggestions, which you then should manually review and pick the right keywords. 5 to 10 keywords is enough per content piece. Um, then you should use those keywords within the ad copy. You can use existing ad copy and just add new headlines or description lines optimized for these keywords. Or if you don't have any ad copy, um, you know, just just take these keywords, think about what do people who search for these keywords, what should they see, what could actually grab their attention, and write the ad copy that way. Use those keywords on your landing page as well. Use it primarily on those prominent places like the URL, headlines, subheadlines, etc. Make sure that you use those trust indicators and a call to action element. Again, we'll have a separate workshop just on the landing page design, so we'll talk more about that at that webinar. And to maximize your chances for an ad to be shown, you should use some of those little tricks that we use, which is like, for instance, dynamic keyword insertion within the ads, or maximize conversions bidding, which can help you bid a lot and maximize your ad rank that way. And you should use performance max campaigns, which currently work very well for many of our clients. And again, we have a separate webinar on those dynamic ads and performance max campaigns you can find in our YouTube channel. And that's all I had. The time is up, so I'm just gonna check the chat window, see if we have any questions there. It looks like we don't. Um, so you have my email address and my phone number here. So if you like what you've seen here, or if something's unclear, if you have any questions, or if you want our help in the content development area, I'll be happy to answer your questions and comments. Again, my email address is peter.sima@abowxdigital.com. Reach out, we'll be happy to help you out. That's all I had for you today. So thank you again for your attention. You will get your recording link soon, and hopefully we'll see each other again on the next webinar. Thank you. Bye-bye.